Captain Lisa Morrison sat in the command chair of the United Earth Alliance Starship Horizon, watching the view screen with calm eyes. She did not allow her face to show the worry she felt inside. This meeting with the alien delegation from the Valkyrie hegemony was not going well. "Captain, they're hailing us again," said Communications Officer Kelly Brooks. Her fingers moved quickly over the glowing console. Lisa nodded. "Put them through." The screen changed to show the face of the Valkyrie ambassador. His silver skin reflected the lights around him, making him seem to glow. His thin lips pulled back to show sharp teeth in what humans had learned was not a smile, but a sign of dominance. "Captain Morrison, have you considered our demands?" the ambassador asked. His voice was smooth but cold. "I have, Ambassador Zex," Lisa replied. "And as I explained before, Earth cannot give you unlimited access to our planet's resources. We are willing to establish fair trade agreements that benefit both our peoples." The ambassador's eyes narrowed. "You misunderstand your position in the galaxy, human. The Valkyrie hegemony does not request. We inform. Your species is new to space travel. You need our protection." Lisa felt Lieutenant Gregory Palmer shift beside her. She knew her second-in-command was getting angry. Greg was new to diplomatic missions. He didn't yet understand that this was how the Valkyrie tested new species they met. "Push hard. See if they break." "Ambassador," Lisa said, keeping her voice even, "we've been talking for 6 hours now. We've offered fair terms. We've listened to your concerns. We've suggested compromises." The ambassador waved his long fingers as if brushing away her words. "Not enough. You will provide what we ask, or you will face problems with the Galactic Council." Lisa noticed the other alien representatives in the room behind the ambassador. The Tellurian elder with his wrinkled blue skin and wise eyes looked worried. The Meridian diplomat's breathing tubes were pulsing faster than normal. They knew something the Valkyrie didn't seem to understand. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion tomorrow," suggested the Tellurian elder, stepping forward slightly. "No," the Valkyrie ambassador said sharply. "The humans will agree now, or they will face consequences." Lisa took a deep breath. She had tried patience. She had tried respect. She had tried to find middle ground. The Valkyrie were not interested in any of that. Her orders from Earth Command had been clear. Establish peaceful relations if possible, but do not show weakness. "Ambassador Zex," she said, placing both hands flat on the table before her. "We have been patient, we have been respectful, we have offered fair terms." She stood up slowly, her blue uniform crisp in the artificial light. "But I'm afraid we're done talking now." The effect of her words was immediate and strange. The room fell completely silent. The Meridian diplomat's breathing tube stopped mid-pulse. The Tellurian elder's eyes grew very wide. Even the junior Valkyrie diplomat standing behind their ambassador seemed to freeze. Only Ambassador Zex looked confused by the sudden tension. He did not yet know what these other species had learned. When human commanders said they were done talking, it was never a surrender. It was a warning. "Done talking?" The ambassador laughed. "Then you accept our terms?" Before Lisa could answer, her communication device beeped. "Captain," said the voice of her tactical officer, Sam Wilson. 3 Valkyrie warships just appeared from jump space. They're moving toward us." The ambassador's lips pulled back again, showing those sharp teeth. "As you see, Captain, we came prepared for your stubbornness. Your ship is alone. Our ships are larger and stronger. Perhaps now you understand your situation better." Lisa tapped her device. "Sam, battle stations. Shields up." Then she looked back at the ambassador. "You brought warships to a diplomatic meeting. That tells me everything I need to know about your intentions." "Captain," Greg whispered urgently, "they outgun us 3-1. Lisa gave her second-in-command a small smile, then turned back to the view screen. "Ambassador, I will give you one chance to order your ships to stand down. After that, what happens next is on you." The ambassador laughed louder. "You are either very brave or very foolish, human. Your ship is alone against 3 of our warships. Your shields cannot withstand our weapons. What exactly do you think will happen next? Lisa tapped her communication device again. Commander Olivia Rhodes, are you in position? A confident female voice answered through the device. All set, Captain. The Daedalus and Icarus are ready on your signal. The ambassador's smile faded slightly. You're bluffing. Our scans detect no other human vessels in this system. That's correct, Lisa said with a small smile of her own. They're not in this system. At least, not yet. The ambassador opened, his mouth to speak again, but at that moment the view behind him through the windows of the diplomatic room changed. Where there had been only stars and empty space before, 2 human ships suddenly appeared just 500 kilometers from the Valkyrie warships. They had not come from jump space. They had simply appeared. The room erupted in shocked voices. The Tellurian elder gasped. The Meridian diplomats' breathing tubes inflated fully in what Lisa knew was their expression of surprise. Impossible, shouted one of the junior Valkyrie diplomats. No species has mastered short-range space folding. Lisa kept her eyes on Ambassador Zex. As I was saying, Ambassador, we're done talking about tributes and threats, but we would be happy to resume our discussion about fair trade agreements whenever you're ready. The ambassador's silver skin seemed to pale to a duller gray. On the screen behind him, Lisa could see the 3 Valkyrie warships changing position, trying to adjust to the sudden appearance of the human ships in what should have been safe space. Captain, Sam's voice came through her device again. The Valkyrie ships are powering down their weapons. They're standing down. Lisa nodded. I thought they might. She looked at the stunned faces of the alien delegation. Now, shall we start over? I believe we were discussing trade agreements that would benefit both our peoples. The Tellurian elder stepped forward, his wrinkled face showing new respect for the human captain. I believe, Captain Morrison, that the galaxy has much to learn about humanity, and perhaps the first lesson is to listen carefully when a human commander says they are done talking. 3 years before the incident on the horizon, Commander Daniel Wright sat in the captain's chair of the Earth scientific vessel Curiosity. The ship was smaller than military vessels, built for research and exploration rather than combat. Its mission was simple: study the strange energy patterns in the Arcturus Nebula. Commander, we're picking up unusual readings at the edge of our sensor range, said Science Officer Megan Foster, her eyes fixed on her screen. Daniel looked up from his data pad. What kind of readings? Ships, Megan said, her voice growing concerned. 4 ships, and they're moving fast. Friendly? Daniel asked, though he already suspected the answer. Megan shook her head. Not broadcasting any known identification signals. Sir, based on their movement patterns, I think they might be Krell. The bridge grew quiet. Everyone knew about the Krell. They were pirates, scavengers who preyed on smaller ships and unprotected colonies. Humans had been warned about them when they first joined the galactic community 2 years earlier. Communications, try to hail them, Daniel ordered. Navigation, plot us a course out of here, maximum speed. But it was too late. The 4 Krell ships moved with surprising speed, surrounding the Curiosity before it could escape. The human ship was trapped. They're hailing us now, sir, said Communications Officer Ben Stewart. Daniel straightened his uniform. Put them through. The main screen flickered to life, showing the face of a Krell captain. The alien looked like a cross between a human and a lizard, with scaly skin, yellow eyes with vertical pupils, and a wide mouth filled with sharp teeth. Human vessel, the Krell captain hissed, his forked tongue flicking between his teeth. You have entered Krell hunting territory. Your ship and crew now belong to us. Daniel kept his face calm. Captain, there must be some mistake. This area is not marked as anyone's territory on galactic maps. We're on a scientific mission authorized by the Galactic Council. The Krell captain laughed, a dry, rattling sound. The Galactic Council has no power here. Your species is young and weak. Your technology is primitive. His yellow eyes narrowed. Surrender your vessel now. We have valuable scientific data, Daniel tried again. We would be willing to share our findings. We don't want your data, the Krell captain interrupted. Your species will serve as excellent biological specimens. Perhaps some of you will even survive the experiments. Daniel looked around at his crew. They were scientists, not soldiers. The Curiosity carried only basic defense systems, nothing that could fight off 4 pirate ships. But they did have one thing that the Krell didn't know about. I understand, Daniel said, his voice becoming very quiet. We're done talking. He cut the transmission and turned to his first officer, Linda Clark. Activate the pulse. Linda's eyes widened. Sir, the gravitational pulse has never been tested in combat conditions. We don't know if it will work or what the side effects might be. We don't have a choice, Daniel replied. Prepare to activate on my mark, and be ready to run the moment. The Krell ships are disabled. The gravitational pulse was a new invention, developed in secret by Earth scientists. It created a temporary distortion in gravity that could disable nearby ship systems without causing permanent damage. It had been installed on the Curiosity as a prototype, a last resort defense mechanism. Pulse charged and ready, sir, Linda reported a moment later. Activate, Daniel ordered. For a second, nothing seemed to happen. Then the lights on the bridge flickered. Outside, space itself seemed to bend slightly, like looking through rippling water. The effect lasted only 3 seconds, but when it ended, the 4 Krell ships were drifting, their engines and weapons temporarily disabled by the sudden gravitational distortion. It worked, Megan exclaimed. Their systems are offline. Navigation. Get us out of here now, Daniel commanded. Communications. Send an emergency signal to any Earth ships in the sector. The Curiosity slipped away from the disabled pirate vessels, jumping to safety before the Krell could recover. What the humans didn't know was that one of the Krell ships had managed to send a brief message to other vessels in the area before being disabled. The message was simple. Beware the humans. When they say they're done talking, they have something. Hidden news of the incident spread across galactic communication networks. Most species dismissed it as luck, a small human research vessel happening to escape from Krell pirates. But others began to pay more attention to these newcomers to the galactic stage. 6 months later, Admiral Heather Nguyen found herself facing a much bigger challenge. She commanded the Earth defense fleet of 10 ships, facing off against the aggressive Zoltan Collective, a species known for claiming territory by force. The Zoltans had decided that the newly established human colony on Proxima Centauri belonged to them. You have 24 hours to evacuate your people, the Zoltan commander had declared. This system is now under Zoltan control. For 3 days, Admiral Nguyen had tried to negotiate. She had offered compromises, alternative solutions, even a shared settlement agreement. The Zoltans had rejected every offer, confident in their superior numbers and firepower. Their fleet of 20 warships easily outnumbered the human defenders. On the 3rd day, Heather sat in her command chair on the flagship Defender. Her brown eyes looked tired but determined. Open a channel to the Zoltan command ship, she ordered. The face of the Zoltan commander appeared on screen. Have you finally accepted reality, human? Will you evacuate? Heather shook her head. I have tried for 3 days to find a peaceful solution, but it seems you're only interested in taking what isn't yours. She leaned forward. So I'm done talking now. She cut the transmission. The Zoltan commander probably laughed, just as the Krell captain had done. After all, his fleet outnumbered hers 2-1. What the Zoltans didn't know was that during those 3 days of talks, 12 more human ships had been slowly moving into position hidden within a nearby nebula. The moment Admiral Nguyen declared she was done talking, those ships emerged, surprising the Zoltans and surrounding their fleet. Now it was 22 human ships against 20 Zoltan vessels. The odds had suddenly shifted. The Zoltans are hailing us again, reported her communications officer. Heather smiled. Now they want to talk, put them through. By the time of the Horizon incident years later, humans had earned a very specific reputation across the galaxy. They always tried peace. First, they negotiated, compromised, and sought solutions that benefited everyone. But when a human commander said they were done talking, something extraordinary always followed. It was never a surrender. It was a final warning that should never be ignored. News of Captain Lisa Morrison's declaration spread quickly through the galaxy. On the massive space station called Harmony, home of the Galactic Council, representatives from 24 different species gathered in an emergency meeting. The large circular chamber hummed with worried voices. Counselor Vex of the Meridians tapped a long finger against the smooth surface of the table. His breathing tubes pulsed with anxiety. "The humans have done it again," he sighed. "Captain Morrison of the Horizon has declared they are done talking with the Valkyrie delegation." The chamber grew quiet. Many of the representatives exchanged nervous glances. "What do we know of the situation?" asked a small, furry representative from the Loran planets. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed the Horizon facing 3 much larger Valkyrie warships. The size difference was clear. The human ship looked tiny compared to the Valkyrie vessels. "The Valkyrie demanded access to Earth's resources," explained Counselor Vex. "When the humans refused, the Valkyrie brought in warships to threaten them." Senior Counselor Jala of the Tellurians rose from her seat. Her blue skin was wrinkled with age, and her wise eyes showed concern. At 200 years old, she was one of the oldest members of the council. "We warned the Valkyrie not to push the humans to this point," she said in her soft, musical voice. "They did not listen." "Why would the Valkyrie worry?" asked the representative from the insectoid Ixranti hive. His mandibles clicked together nervously. "Their ships are larger and more powerful. What can one human vessel do against 3 Valkyrie warships?" "You are new to the council," Counselor Jala said kindly. "You have not yet learned what others know. Humans do not say they are done talking unless they already have a solution in place." At that moment, the doors to the chamber opened. Frank Martinez, Earth's representative to the council, walked in. He was a middle-aged man with gray at his temples and calm, confident eyes. Unlike the other worried representatives, he seemed completely at ease. "Ambassador Martinez," Counselor Vex said quickly, "your Captain Morrison has just declared that humans are done talking with the Valkyrie. 3 Valkyrie warships are threatening your vessel. Should we prepare emergency response teams?" Frank smiled slightly as he took his seat. "That won't be necessary, Counselor." "But the situation," began the Ixranti representative, "is well in hand," Frank finished for him. "The Valkyrie believe their technological superiority will protect them. They don't understand that humans don't say they're done talking unless they already have a solution in place." "What solution could they possibly have against 3 Valkyrie warships?" asked the doubtful Ixranti counselor. Frank simply smiled. "I suggest we all watch carefully. This will be educational." The holographic display suddenly changed. Where there had been empty space around the 3 Valkyrie warships, 2 human ships now appeared. They had not come from jump space or through normal travel. They had simply appeared, as if they had been there all along but invisible. The council chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Species that had vocal cords gasped. Those without them showed their surprise in other ways, flashing skin colors, inflating air sacs, or raising spines. "Impossible," shouted the representative from the Groll Confederacy, his thick gray skin darkening with emotion. "No species has mastered short-range space folding." "And yet," Frank said quietly, "there it is." On the display they could see the Valkyrie ships quickly powering down their weapons. The threat display was over as suddenly as it had begun. "How long have humans had this technology?" demanded the Ixranti representative. Frank shrugged. "Does it matter? We used it to end a confrontation peacefully. No shots were fired." Senior Counselor Jala nodded thoughtfully. "This is the human pattern. They try peace first. When that fails, they reveal something unexpected." She looked around the room. "Remember Commander Wright and the gravitational pulse? Admiral Nguyen and her hidden fleet? Now Captain Morrison and space-folding technology? They hide their true capabilities," said the Grull representative accusingly. "No," Frank corrected him. "We develop safeguards and use them only when necessary. There's a difference. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening on dozens of worlds. On the desert planet Zorax, military leaders gathered in an underground bunker to discuss the implications. On the ocean world of Neptular, the High Council of Elders met in their floating city to watch recordings of the event. Many species began quietly evacuating their citizens from systems near Valkyrie space. Others prepared their diplomatic teams for the aftermath. All waited to see what would happen next. On the ice planet Frenga, General Kraz of the Militant Order watched the recording for the 20th time. His 4 eyes narrowed in thought. "Replay the moment when the human says they are done talking," he ordered his assistant. The screen showed Captain Lisa Morrison standing calmly, saying those now famous words. "We're done talking now." General Kraz paused the image. "Look at her. No fear, no anger, just certainty." He turned to his officers. "That is what makes humans dangerous. Not their technology, though that is impressive. It's their certainty. They don't threaten. They warn." Back on Harmony, the emergency council meeting continued for hours. Plans were made, theories discussed, concerns raised. But one thing was clear to everyone. Humanity had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy. As the meeting finally ended, Senior Counselor Jala approached Frank Martinez in the corridor outside the chamber. "Your Captain Morrison handled the situation well," she said. "The Valkyrie will think twice before threatening humans again." Frank nodded. That was the goal. "But now everyone will wonder what other technologies humans are hiding," Jala pointed out. "Some may become afraid. Fear is not our goal," Franco replied. "Respect is. We want to be treated as equals, nothing more." Jala's ancient eyes studied him. "The phrase your commanders use, we're done talking, it has become something of a legend among spacefaring species. When we hear it, we know to pay very close attention to what happens next." Frank smiled. "Then the legend is serving its purpose. The best way to avoid conflict is to make sure everyone knows the cost of starting one." As Frank walked away, Jala watched him go. In her 2 centuries of life, she had seen species rise and fall. She had watched civilizations extend into the stars and sometimes burn out like dying suns. But humans were something new. They sought peace, but prepared for war. They shared knowledge but kept secrets. They were both transparent and mysterious. And, when they said they were done talking, the galaxy held its breath. Captain Lisa Morrison stood in the observation lounge of the horizon, watching the stars. The Valkyrie ships had left the system 6 hours ago, their demands forgotten. The diplomatic meeting had ended with a fair trade agreement that benefited both sides. It wasn't the outcome the Valkyrie had wanted, but it was the one they had accepted after Lisa's demonstration. The door to the lounge slid open, and Lieutenant Gregory Palmer walked in. The young officer still looked a bit shaken by the day's events. "Captain," he said, coming to stand beside her at the window. "I've been thinking about what happened today." Lisa smiled slightly. "I imagine everyone in this part of the galaxy is thinking about what happened today." "The Valkyrie didn't know about our space-folding technology," Greg said. "No one did. It was our biggest secret." "One of them," Lisa corrected gently. Greg looked at her in surprise. "There are more?" Lisa turned away from the stars to face her second-in-command. "Greg, what do you think happens when a human commander says they're done talking?" He shrugged. "Until today, I thought it was just a phrase, a way of saying negotiations had failed." "It is that," Lisa agreed, "but it's also a signal to our forces. It means, activate the contingency plan." So every time a human commander has said those words, they already had a solution in place. Lisa finished for him. Commander Wright had the gravitational pulse. Admiral Nguyen had her hidden fleet. I had the space-folding ships. "And if none of those had been available?" Greg asked. Lisa's eyes grew serious. "There are always backup plans, Greg. We don't say we're done talking unless we know exactly what comes next." On the bridge of the Daedalus, one of the ships that had appeared through space-folding, Commander Olivia Rhodes was having a similar conversation with her crew. I still can't believe we did it, said Navigation Officer Jack Harris, shaking his head in wonder. The first combat use of space-folding technology. The scientists back home said it wouldn't be ready for another year. And officially it's not, Olivia reminded him. What happened today is classified at the highest level. But the Valkyrie saw us appear, said Tactical Officer Will Bennett. And I'm guessing half the galaxy knows by now. Olivia nodded. They know we can do it, they don't know how. And that's enough. Jack leaned forward in his chair. You know, my grandfather was in Starfleet when humans first went beyond our solar system. He always told me that other species thought we were reckless, rushing into space before we were ready. And were we? Will asked. My grandfather said humans have always been good at two things, hoping for the best and preparing for the worst, Jack replied. I guess today proved him right. Back on Earth, in the United Earth Alliance headquarters in Geneva, Admiral Karen Lewis watched the report from the horizon with mixed feelings. As head of fleet operations, she had authorized the use of the space-folding technology as a last resort. Now she faced the aftermath of that decision. The Valkyrie ambassador has filed a formal complaint with the Galactic Council, said her aide, a young lieutenant named Ryan Edwards. They're claiming we violated diplomatic protocols by concealing military capabilities. Karen snorted. That's rich, coming from the people who brought warships to a diplomatic meeting. Yes, ma'am, Ryan agreed. But this does mean our space. Folding technology is now public knowledge. Not all of it, Karen said thoughtfully. They know we can do short-range jumps without using jump gates or normal space engines. They don't know how, and they don't know the limitations. She sighed. Still, the secret's out sooner than we planned. Was it worth it? Ryan asked. Karen looked at the screen where Captain Morrison's report was displayed. No shots fired. No lives lost. A peaceful resolution to what could have been a violent confrontation. Yes, she said firmly. It was worth it. In a dark, secure room deep beneath the surface of Mars, a different meeting was taking place. 5 people sat around a circular table, their faces lit by the soft blue glow of holographic displays. This was the Strategic Technologies Committee, the group responsible for developing and safeguarding humanity's most advanced technologies. The space-folding tech was revealed too soon, said Director Alan Reed, his voice sharp with frustration. We needed another year of testing before deployment. We needed to protect our people, countered General Sophia Chen. The Valkyrie would have attacked the horizon if we hadn't acted. Professor Nathan Rivera, head of the science division, adjusted his glasses nervously. The question now is what to do about the quantum shield. The room fell silent. The quantum shield was humanity's newest and most closely guarded secret, a defensive technology that could, in theory, make a ship completely invulnerable for short periods. It's not ready, Alan said firmly. The power requirements are still too high, and we've only managed to shield objects the size of a small shuttle. But if we face another confrontation like today? Sophia asked. If saying we're done talking isn't enough next time? The 5th person at the table spoke for the first time. Dr. Julie Warren was the youngest member of the committee, a brilliant physicist whose theories had made the space-folding technology possible. The phrase works because it's true, she said quietly. When our commanders say they're done talking, they have something to back it up. But it's not the technology that matters. It's the reputation. Meaning? Alan asked. Julie looked around. The table. Humans have a reputation now. We try peace first. We negotiate. We compromise. And when that fails, we have an ace up our sleeve. The galaxy believes that. And as long as they believe it, we don't actually have to reveal all our technologies. A bluff? Sophia asked, raising an eyebrow. Not exactly, Julie replied. More like selective truth. We have the space-folding tech. We have the gravitational pulse. We're working on the quantum shield. But our greatest protection is that no one knows exactly what we might reveal next. Alan nodded slowly. So we maintain the mystery. Yes, Julie agreed. And we keep developing new technologies, not just for confrontations, but for protection. Because the best outcome isn't winning a fight, it's preventing the fight from happening at all. As the meeting continued, debates about technology and strategy filled the secure room. But one thing was clear to everyone: the phrase "we're done talking" had become humanity's most powerful diplomatic tool. It was a line in the sand, a final warning, and a promise all at once. And across the galaxy, species were learning to listen very carefully when they heard it. 1 month after what became known as the Morrison Incident, the Galactic Council held a special session. Representatives from over 50 species filled the Grand Chamber on the space station Harmony. Today, they would vote on a new diplomatic protocol that had never been needed before in the history of the galaxy. Senior Counselor Jala of the Tellurians stood at the center of the chamber, her blue skin almost glowing under the soft lights. Despite her 200 years of age, her voice was clear and strong as she addressed the gathered representatives. For thousands of years, our species have followed standard diplomatic procedures, she said, looking around the room. We have rules for first contact, for trade negotiations, for territorial disputes, and for declarations of war. Today, we propose a new protocol, one that recognizes a unique human communication signal. On the large display screens around the chamber, the words appeared in the common galactic language: the Human Warning Protocol. Frank Martinez, Earth's representative, sat quietly in his seat. His face remained calm, but inside he felt a mix of pride and concern. This was a big step for humanity's place in the galaxy, but it also put a spotlight on his species that wasn't entirely comfortable. The phrase "we're done talking," when spoken by a human commander, will be officially recognized as a final diplomatic notification, Jala continued. It will be understood as a courtesy warning that should be heeded immediately. The Valkyrie ambassador shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His people had learned that lesson the hard way 1 month ago. "Is this really necessary?" asked the representative from the Zoltan Collective. "Must we create an entire protocol for a simple human phrase?" "I believe it is necessary," replied Counselor Vex of the Meridians. His breathing tubes pulsed calmly as he spoke. In the past 5 years, there have been 7 incidents where human commanders used this phrase. In each case, it marked a turning point in the situation. The humans always tried peaceful solutions first. When those failed and they declared they were done talking, they revealed unexpected capabilities or strategies. "It is a warning, not a threat," added the representative from the peaceful Arborian cluster. The humans give their opponents one final chance to return to peaceful negotiations. The discussion continued for hours. Some species argued against giving special recognition to a human phrase. Others supported the protocol as a way to prevent unnecessary conflicts. In the end, the vote was unanimous. The Human Warning Protocol was officially added to galactic diplomatic standards. As the representatives filed out of the chamber, Frank Martinez was approached by Ambassador Zex of the Valkyrie hegemony. The silver-skinned alien no longer looked arrogant. Instead, there was a new respect in his eyes. "Your Captain Morrison taught us an important lesson," Zex said, his voice low so only Frank could hear. "We thought your technology was inferior to ours. We were wrong." Frank nodded politely. "Technology is not always the most important factor in a confrontation, Ambassador." "No," Zex agreed. "Sometimes it's knowing when to use what you have." He paused. "My government has approved the trade agreement with Earth. We look forward to a more respectful relationship in the future." As Zex walked away, Frank allowed himself a small smile. This was exactly what humanity had hoped for. Respect, not fear. On Earth, in the United Earth Alliance headquarters in Geneva, Admiral Laura Bennett met with her senior staff. The large windows of the conference room showed a view of the lake and mountains beyond. It was a peaceful scene, fitting for their discussion. "The Galactic Council has approved the Human Warning Protocol," Laura announced to the assembled officers. "Our diplomatic phrase is now officially recognized throughout known space." "That should make our jobs easier," said Colonel Aaron Jackson, her chief of operations. If everyone knows what it means when we say we're done talking, maybe we won't have to say it as often. That's the hope, Laura agreed. The galaxy is finally starting to understand us. They see our patience as weakness until they push too far, added Commander Samantha Rivera, head of the Tactical Division. Then they're surprised when we have a solution they didn't expect. Humans have always been this way, said Dr. Patricia Coleman, the Alliance's chief xenopsychologist. She pushed her glasses up on her nose as she spoke. Throughout our history, our greatest advantage has been that our adversaries never believed we could do what we claimed until we did it. Laura looked out the window at the peaceful scene. Let's hope the galaxy continues to learn, because while we always prefer peace, we will always be prepared for the alternative. Far away, on the edge of human space, Captain Lisa Morrison of the Horizon was preparing for a new mission. The ship had been repaired and resupplied after the confrontation with the Valkyrie. Now they were heading to a previously unexplored sector of space. Lieutenant Gregory Palmer stood beside her on the bridge, looking much more confident than he had a month ago. Captain, do you think we'll need to use the phrase on this mission? Lisa smiled. I hope not, Greg. The best outcome is when we never have to say we're done talking. But if we do, he asked. Then we'll be ready, she replied. That's the human way. Hope for peace. Prepare for everything else. As the Horizon prepared to jump to its new destination, news of the human warning protocol was spreading throughout the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, military academies added a new lesson to their curriculum. When human commanders say they're done talking, the wisest response is to start listening very, very carefully. In the vast reaches of space, other species watched humanity with new interest and respect. The young species from Earth had proven themselves to be peaceful negotiators and formidable potential opponents. They sought friendship, but prepared for conflict. They shared knowledge, but kept secrets. They were both transparent and mysterious. And, when they said they were done talking, the galaxy held its breath. As the Horizon jumped into the unknown, Captain Lisa Morrison thought about all that had happened. The confrontation with the Valkyrie, the revelation of the space-folding technology, the new protocol named after her incident. But most of all, she thought about the future. Humanity was still finding its place among the stars. There would be new challenges, new species to meet, new technologies to develop. And through it all, humans would continue to do what they had always done. Try peace first, prepare for the worst, and hope for the best. The stars streaked past the view screen as the Horizon entered jump space. Another journey, another adventure. Another chance to show the galaxy the true strength of humanity. Not their weapons or their technology, but their determination, their adaptability, and their unwavering commitment to finding solutions. Even when they were done talking.